Welcome to the explainer. So, you know that feeling when your spoken English gets just a little bit stuck? Like when you're trying to tell a story about a plan that just didn't quite pan out? Well, if you've ever been there, you are in exactly the right place today. We're opening up what I like to call the ultimate conversational toolkit. We're going to master two absolutely essential past-based English structures that native speakers use literally all the time. Let's dive right into this. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with a missing plan problem, jump into the about to tool, then the supposed to tool, fix a few common mistakes, and wrap it all up with an idiom upgrade. All right, part one, the missing plan problem. This is such a universal frustration, and really understanding it is key to knowing exactly why we even need these grammar structures in the first place. Think about this for a second. Have you ever meant to do something, like you're literally walking out your front door and suddenly your phone rings, or it just starts absolutely pouring rain and your whole plan is ruined? Or maybe you had this one specific task for work and it just totally slipped your mind. How do you naturally explain that without sounding clunky? Trying to force these situations into standard past tense verbs just doesn't quite work. That's exactly where our two tools for today come in to save the day. Moving right along to part two, the about to tool. So in a past context, saying you were about to do something means an action was gonna happen very, very soon, but it suddenly got interrupted or just didn't happen at all. It is the absolute perfect way to talk about a near future action in the past that got stopped right in its tracks. You're basically building up suspense right before the interruption hits. Honestly, it's one of my all-time favorite phrases for telling a good story. And the formula here is beautifully simple. You start with your subject, follow it up with the right past tense verb, so either was or were, throw in our magic phrase about to, and cap it off with the first form of your main verb. The one crucial rule you've got to remember is matching was or were to your pronoun. If it's I, he, she, or it, you use was, like I was about to go. But if your subject is you, we, or they, go with were. They were about to leave. It's simple, it's structured, and it works every single time. So where does this really shine in the real world? Well, we use it for interrupted actions, things that were supposed to happen immediately or a sudden change in a situation. Just picture grabbing your car keys and saying, I was about to go out, right when your friend unexpectedly knocks on the door. Or, she was about to speak, right when the microphone suddenly dies. It perfectly captures that exact split second of change. Plus, we can easily flip this around to keep our conversations super dynamic. Want to make it negative? Just drop not right after was or were. I was not about to give up. Need to ask a question? Simply swap your subject and the to be verb. Were you about to leave? Nailing these little variations is really going to make your spoken English sound incredibly fluid. Okay, part three, the supposed to tool. Now this one shifts our focus completely over to responsibility. While about to handles an interrupted action, supposed to in the past means something was expected, planned, or it was a duty that just wasn't fulfilled. We're talking about rules and expectations that fell short. Basically, an action that totally should have happened but just didn't. And look at this, it builds right on what we just learned. The formula should look super familiar, right? Subject plus was or were plus supposed to plus that first form of the verb again. I really want to highlight how important it is to stick to the base form of that main verb. It's I was supposed to study, not studied. We'll look at that specific trap in just a second, but locking this formula into your brain right now is your absolute best defense. This is your go-to phrase for missed plans, unfulfilled expectations, or broken rules. Let me give you a really quick scenario. Picture a Sunday night. You say to your friend, I was supposed to study, but I slept. We have literally all been there, right? It perfectly shows there was a clear plan, but reality had other ideas. It's just a fantastic, natural way to admit you missed a daily task without sounding overly dramatic about it. Which brings us to part four, fixing common mistakes. Look, making mistakes is just how we learn, but let's clear up a major trap that catches so many people, the dreaded double past tense verb. Instead of saying I was about to went, you have to remember that was is already doing all the past tense heavy lifting for you. Your brain totally wants to say went because the story's in the past, but following our formula, that main action verb has to stay in its base form. So the correct way is always I was about to go. Let's troubleshoot a couple more quick ones. How about the phrase, they was supposed to come? See the issue? They needs a plural past tense verb, so actually it should be they were supposed to come. Or what about asking, was you supposed to go? Nope, because you takes work. It has to be, were you supposed to go? Catching these little subject-verb disagreements is going to instantly elevate how you sound. And finally, part 5, the idiom upgrade. You guys have done fantastic work with the grammar today, so let's reward that by adding some really cool advanced idioms to your toolkit. And these aren't just obscure textbook phrases. Native speakers use these constantly, whether they're in a boardroom or just chatting at a coffee shop. Throwing these into the mix is a guaranteed way to sound more fluent. Let's look at a few of my absolute favorites. First up is the writing on the wall. This basically means there are super clear, obvious signs that something bad is heading your way. Like, imagine a business is hemorrhaging money and all the best employees are quitting. You might look at that and say, man, the company totally ignored the writing on the wall. It's just a really vivid way to describe a disaster that everyone absolutely should have seen coming. Next is a classic, a double-edged sword. We use this for something that has some really great advantages, but also some pretty serious downsides. The best example? Social media is a double-edged sword. I mean, it's awesome for staying connected, but it can also be a huge toxic distraction. It cuts both ways, just like a sword with two sharp edges. Let's run through a few really active ones quickly. If you bring up a super controversial topic at family dinner, you might open a can of worms, meaning you just unleashed a whole bunch of messy new problems. If you start a brand new project with tons of energy, you hit the ground running. And my personal favorite, if someone is just rambling in a meeting, you might ask them to cut to the chase. It is the best possible way to say, hey, let's skip the fluff and get right to the main point. Real quick before we wrap, I just want to toss in a couple of bonus vocabulary words to round this out. Take the word blunt. It means being very direct, maybe even a little harsh, like she gave a really blunt answer. Or the word jeopardize, which means to put something at serious risk. Careless mistakes can jeopardize the whole project. Pairing punchy words like these with your new past tense structures, game changer. And that actually brings us to the end of our explainer. We've tackled the about to and supposed to formulas, cleaned up those tricky common mistakes, and loaded you up with some top-tier idioms. So I want to leave you with one final thought. Now that you've got these awesome conversational tools in your back pocket, what are you about to do next? Don't let this turn into a missed plan. I highly encourage you to use at least one of these phrases in a real conversation today. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.